Hey everyone, Rascal here, and welcome back to another session of Rascal Reviews. And I want to wish you all a happy new year before we get started, because I know that I had quite a few sort of mixes of reviews last year. Some were better received than others, but I thank you for giving me your honest opinion on everything, and I hope you have a great 2023. So this time I want to start with DuckTales. And not the original DuckTales. I actually have not seen that. I would like to talk about the 2017 reboot. And usually the first thing when you hear for reboots is dread, because usually the route of reboots don't go so well. And there was a time when there were reboots and they were far in between. They were actually really good adaptations. But it seems like after Voltron, there was a sort of lack of good ones. Like, they would have ones that would do mostly just Teen Titans Go, like, over and over and over. And a lot of people worried that that's what the DuckTales one was going to do. Some were excited because they had watched the original one growing up, so they were excited to see what new adventures they would play out. And others weren't sure if this was going to do well or not because of the track record Disney has with reboots. Because some of them have turned out not so great, and they should have just left them alone. But I have to say that the DuckTales 2017 series actually turned out much better than any of us ever expected. I mean, the first episode out of the gate was phenomenal. It was funny, it was smart, well animated, it had some good drama, and it actually had a mystery that was at the cliffhanger of the end of the episode that really in for next season, or next episode, depending on how much you watched. And it wasn't really bad at all. Looks like the first season had, I think, 23 episodes. Now, I want to tell you, there were 3 seasons of the show. The first season had 23 episodes, the second one had 24, and the third one had 22. And this is kind of different for Disney to do, because usually when they do series, they are lucky to get 13 episodes, if that many. Or they'll say it's 24 or 26, and it'll just be 2 segments and half together to make a half hour. But this time for DuckTales, they actually made full-length, 30-minute episodes, and over 20 episodes each season for 3 seasons. So I have to say that's actually impressive that they did that. It didn't just cheap out and just do a bunch of little segments of shorts or comedy things. Now, I will have to say that this version of the series takes a slightly different approach. It starts off about the same with the nephews of Donald, Huey, Dewey, and Louie, being sent off to their great uncle Scrooge McDuck. And it does start off about the same as the original, but you start to notice that the characters start to act a little different from the original. And this isn't putting down the original 80s one. I've never seen all the original, so I can't say what was bad about it and have that authority. Only you guys who have seen the original, or both the original and the new one, can clearly judge. But for me, I think you can tell that the characters act much differently. One of the biggest things I always hear about when people talk about the original is that Huey and Dewey were kind of just the set of triplets that didn't have personalities. The whole thing was that they were triplets and nothing more. Well, here they give them very distinct voices, distinct clothing, distinct personalities, and distinct voices. And I think that actually helped the show a lot, because one of the complaints for some of the other shows is that you can't tell some of them apart, like with the Turtles. But in here, you immediately know who's Louie, you know who's Huey, you know who's Dewey. And it's pretty smart that they gave them all their own personalities and stuff that would work even with the original. Like with Huey, he's more of the book smart one and always follows the Junior Woodchuck manual, which they kept from the original. And Dewey is the one who always wants to be cool. He wants to be the star. He wants to be famous and all that. Louie is the lazy one who just wants a get rich quick scheme. And even gets more development in each of those personalities as it goes on. But you can actually have defining characteristics for each one, and I think that really helped the show in general. Now, the first episode, like I said, was probably, I think, an hour long. They only had 2-hour-long episodes. It was the first one was premiere, a special, a Darkwing Duck special, and then a hour and a half long I think, finale, I believe, for the end of the series. But I have to say that they really do a great job of keeping your attention every single episode. And they do some really creative adventures and stories and monsters. And there's even like mini hints within the series that the Darkwing Duck, well, we got Darkwing Duck in here, they actually show him later. But they also start putting in other shows in the DuckTales universe, like Tailspin is actually canon in here. And so is The Adventures of the Gummy Bears. There's even a hint that Gargoyles is canon, which I think is smart. That and I forgot to mention the Chippendale series. And I think it's pretty smart that they decided to connect all of the shows together in one universe. And they don't go full on into every single one, but they sort of just reference them, which I think was a better option in case there's some things that they will want to see adapted and not. So as the story goes on, the first mystery that they have as part of the title is that they actually end up finding the triplets' mother. And yes, they actually do find the mom, and she's awesome. And that ends up being the plot of the first season, and then she actually becomes a main character the second season, which is something really different for Disney because the original one really didn't focus on the parents. They had them, but you never saw them. And here, they kind of go halfway. You find out about the mother later, and you actually get to see her. She becomes part of their lives again, and that's it. They never really get into details about the father. And it's sort of hinted that they didn't have enough time. Disney canceled them before they had time to write that out, so they just wrote a different ending. And they wanted to address that there was no time to establish one. So it's okay. But I have to say, I really, really ended up loving this series. I watched it weekly when it came on, and then episodes that I missed were on demand. They also had a Halloween episode, along with 2 Christmas ones, which were phenomenal and hilarious. They had a Darkwing Duck special, which actually ends up being a backdoor pilot to a upcoming reboot of that show as well. And then it has an hour-long, or I think an hour and 30-minute finale called The Last Adventure. And I think all in all, the entire show is fantastic. It really did a great job of paying tribute to the original series. It wasn't trying to make it better than the original or talk down about it, insult its audience, insult its fans, or act like we did everything better. It's just that if you see it's done better, then it's done better. And that's it. And I think, to me, that is fantastic. They took that approach and they didn't try to make it look like it was an ego trip like with Teen Titans Go on other shows where they constantly badger the audience for not liking the new one and only keep it on the original. So, yeah, like I said, I think this is a great show. I highly recommend it. With a lot of these, how these reboots are going now, I can get the hesitancy on it, but this was definitely a show that you shouldn't have missed. It was one of Disney's best ideas, and I am glad that they actually had people that worked on it that really love the original, and were hoping to get more people into both franchises as it aired. And you guys can tell me what you thought of DuckTales in the comments below. Again, it only lasted 3 seasons. I kind of wish it had at least one more to show what happened to the father. And a movie like the original had with Treasure of the Lost Lamp. I think that was the name of the original. And you guys let me know what you think of the series in the comments below. Did you love it too? Did you think it was just okay? Or did you actually not like it and you just prefer the original? Please let me know what you think in the comments below. And I'll see you guys next time. Later! Oh wait, one more thing. Woo!